Hey, what up, guys? This is Ryan with Brainstorms, and this is about place value and rounding, right? You might already be good at rounding, but this will just be kind of a good review. And here we have a bunch of places, right? You have the ones, like let's take the number 215.67. For the whole numbers, obviously you have the ones first, then the tens, and then the hundreds. And this could go on forever in this direction. We've limited it to 3 just for the sake of this lesson, but again, next would be the thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s, millions, right, and so on. And same in this direction. After decimal, the first guy is the tenth. Notice the decimals always end with the th, right? And then you have the hundredth, and then it would go to the thousandth and 10,000, same thing in both directions. Keeping it simple just for this lesson. And yeah, so you'll notice the th is on the decimals, and there's no th on these. Another weird thing is that for the whole number, it starts with the ones place, then the tens. There is no oneth, right? There's the tenth and then hundredth. So how do you round, right? So the first thing is, if we had something like 215.67, so let's take that number. They could ask us to round any place. So we could round to the nearest tenth, or we could round to the tens place, or we can round to the hundreds place. You know, the same number could be rounded in multiple different ways, and that's what really we have to get good at here. So we're taking this example, and we're just going to do one at a time, right? Let's say they said, round this number, 215, right? We'll write it here, 215.67. And they said round it to the nearest, we'll do a few of them. For A, round it to the nearest tenth. The way to round is, you find the guy that you're going to round. So where is the 10th place? They said round to the nearest tenth. Well, the 10th place is here, right? So the first thing is we're going to identify, this is the guy we're going to mess with. Is he going to go up or stay the same? Note, he can't go down. This is either going to stay a 6 or round up to a 7. Can't go down to a 5. That's impossible. And so how do we know if it goes up or if it stays the same? You look at his neighbor to the right. Okay, so you look at the neighbor to the right. If this number is 5 or larger, then it makes him go up. If this number is 4 or smaller, this is going to stay the same, right? So in this case, we're rounding the 10th, we found him, we looked at his neighbor to the right, hey, 7 is 5 or bigger, so this goes up to a 7, so now we have 215, well, that's the wrong blue here, 215.7. It rounded up because this neighbor, larger than 5 or 5 or larger, pushed him up. Does that make sense? So that's how we do it. Okay, so well then let's keep practicing, right? What about the next guy? What if they said we're going to round him to a different place? Maybe they said take the same number, 215, and round him to the tens place, right? And round him to the nearest tens place. Well, the first thing we have to do is find the tens. Not here, not here. That's ones. Tens is right here. So we're going to change this guy, or maybe not. And how do we do it? It's from his neighbor here. So we're going to look at the neighbor to the right. Is this neighbor 5 or larger? Yes. So he goes up. Now, what results is this? This is weird. This 1 is going to go to a 2, so I have 2, 2. What happened to the 5? Everybody below becomes a 0. Is that weird? So I rounded 215 up to 220. And you don't have to include the 0.00 at the end. They sort of are there in theory, but you do not include those, right? So that's kind of weird. When you round a whole number, a tens place or hundreds place, everyone after the rounding now drops to a 0. Weird? Okay, well, let's do another one. Okay, maybe they'll say round this number, 215.67, to the nearest hundreds place, not hundredths, hundreds place. Okay, so we say, well, where is the hundreds place? Not here, not here, not here, right? It's right here, the 2. Now we look at his neighbor to the right, the 1. Does he push him up to the next number, or does he cause him to stay the same? Because he's 4 lower, he's under 5, he does not make him go higher. So now this actually rounds to, weirdly, 200. And is that weird that it's 200? Let me fix that. Is that weird that it's 200 and not 200.00 or anything like that? Totally normal. Once you've rounded him, everyone below him gets set to a 0. All right. So I think that's weird. I think the weirdest by far is this. What if they ask you the following question, right? And we'll call it D over here. What if they ask you the following question? They said round 215.67 to the nearest whole number. Right, that's weird because they didn't say a specific place, hundreds, tens, ones, tenth, hundredth. What does that mean, whole number? That implies ones. So whenever they say round to the nearest whole number, they're talking about this here. They're talking about rounding the ones place. Is that weird? So look out for that. If they say whole number, you know to round to the nearest 1. Well, here's my ones place. His neighbor to the right is right here, right? Does this guy cause him to go up, or does this guy cause him to stay the same? Because he's 5 or bigger, 6 is totally 5 or bigger, it causes him to go up. So now I know that this is 216, and I don't have a decimal. Everybody below the decimal is 0, so that is my answer. All right, is that weird? Okay, so now you get the hang of it, you get it, you find the guy that you're going to mess with, and then you look at his neighbor to the right. So let me just give you a quiz, and let's see if you guys can ace this. All right, check it out. Okay, so here's a little 4-question quiz. Let's see how good you are. Okay, so looking at the first one, they say round to the nearest whole number. And then I just learned that, so I'm like, okay, I can't be fooled. I totally get that. So that is basically the ones place. So I say, well, I don't know what it is. I'm just going to underline it. This is the guy that I'm messing with or not. And then I find his neighbor to the right, and I say, does he push him up or keep him the same? Because that's 5 or bigger, he totally goes up, right? So I know this is 307, and that's my answer. Not point anything. There's no decimal. Everything after the guy that changed becomes a 0. All right, so that wasn't too bad. All right, what about this one? The 10th, right? So I'm like, well, that's the 10s. That's not right. That's 1s, 100s. It's this guy here. Okay, so I'm going to mess with him, and then I'm going to look at his neighbor to the right. Is he 5 or bigger? He's totally 5 or bigger, so he pushes him up. So now I have 212.7, and I don't need the 0 at the end, right? So that was okay. All right, what about this next one? The tens place. Where is that? I think it's right here. Do we agree? That's 1s, 10s, 100s. So that's this one. His neighbor to the right is a 6. Okay, so that does round him up. That would be 440. And it's weird because you're like, well, what about all those 9 9s? No, all that's gone. After the guy that got rounded, everything else is gone. Okay, last one, the hundreds place. And I'm like, well, that's hundredth, so that's wrong. It's hundreds here. The neighbor to the right is this guy. He's definitely tiny. He's smaller than 5, so he doesn't round him up. So this becomes 700. That is rounded. So that's how you do it. And again, yeah, I agree that the place values could go on forever in either direction, and you'll get better at that as you get older. But for now, we'll deal with these place values and how to round them, and that's totally it. I think this is one of those sections where, like, you can master this pretty quickly and get all of these right every time. All right, good luck, you guys.